something.
Which cereal mascot would be the best role model for your kids?
Ooh, that's a good question.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of MCUEx. My name's Doug Herring.
I'm Nick Fox.
And we got a lot to talk about today. Not so much a news episode, but we're just going to talk about some cool stuff that's happened in the MCU for the past few weeks.
And in our own little universe.
Yes, indeed. Of course, we had New York Comic Con, which we both went to. Was just last weekend. Luke Cage came out. We haven't really talked about that. And the Doctor Strange IMAX 3D sneak peek, which I got to see, but Nick, you unfortunately didn't.
No, I did not.
So yeah, lots of fun stuff to talk about. But let's get into it with Comic-Con.
Yeah, let's start with Comic-Con because I've gone before, but not for an extended period of time.
Right.
And this time I went for almost too much time, I would say.
Yeah, 4 days is a long time.
A lot of Comic-Con, but so much to see. I mean, I still don't feel like I scratched the surface. If it was 3 weeks long, I don't think I would have seen everything.
There's so much there. And to be fair, a lot of it's stuff that probably wouldn't interest you for very long, but you still want to kind of experience it.
I don't know. There was one booth I stayed at for probably half an hour.
Which one was that?
It was in that weird artist section in the middle on the main floor.
Okay.
And it was a guy who would just hide various references to things in his watercolors.
Oh.
But he would tell you that there was a number of references, like 40 references to time travel in this. And
that's so cool. I did not see that guy.
I have his card.
Oh, very cool.
I'll let you have it afterwards. But yeah, I stood there for like half an hour. He did not care whether I bought or not. He was just like, "Do you see any more?" And I didn't at that point.
That's awesome.
I was pretty much done. Yeah.
See, that's like an example of we could have spent a week there, and I probably still would never have seen that guy.
Yeah. One of the coolest things, though, I have to say, is going to the Marvel picture when all the people in Marvel costumes.
Yes, yeah, the Marvel cosplay photo shoot.
That was awesome.
And we did not know what was going on.
No,
we stepped outside for a minute because we wanted to kind of get away from the crowds for just a few minutes. And we walk outside and we see all these Spider-Man, all these Deadpools. What else did we see? Oh, we saw
Black Widow, a really good Black Widow,
a really good Iron Man.
Yep.
We tweeted about him at the MCUExchange. Follow us. You can.
And Squirrel Girl.
Squirrel Girl, a girl. I wish I could remember her name. She crocheted a Squirrel Girl costume.
Yeah, something Stitch was
yes.
her handle. Yeah,
I'll remember it, and then if I don't remember it before the show, check the description because we'll link to her. She was amazing. She said, it was a great Squirrel Girl costume that she crocheted herself. She said it took her like 14 hours.
No. It took her a week. You're thinking of the Adam Savage panel that we went to where it took him 14 hours to make it costume.
That's right. But still, a week was an insanely short period of time for as intricate and complete as that was.
Yeah, and although there were a couple Squirrel Girls, I have to say...
She was the best.
Yeah, easily.
Definitely.
And it wasn't a canon costume. It wasn't 100% what anyone else has done. It was a crocheted costume, but it still had the most attention to detail, and her look was right. She looked like she could play Squirrel Girl. Sorry, Anna Kendrick. I don't want you as Squirrel Girl anymore. I want this person who went to Comic-Con.
I'll find her. We tweeted about her, so I have the Twitter feed pulled up now, so I'll find her.
There were also a good number of Daredevils.
A lot of Daredevils. A lot of Seatown Spidey.
Oh, yeah.
He was a really good Spider-Man.
He had the poses down as well.
North Jersey Nerd was a good Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we tweeted about all these on the MCUExchange channel. We'll include links in the description as well to them because we want to give them some love. Scarlet Stitch.
That's what it was.
Was her name. Scarlet_Stitch on Twitter. She's big on Instagram and Etsy as well. And Brampton Iron Man was the cool Iron Man that we saw. Lots of amazing costumes. Both Marvel and non-Marvel.
Yeah, absolutely. There were some amazing DC costumes. It just, we might get a little hate in the comments if we go off on another DC tangent.
No, actually, people seem to like it when we hate on DC a little bit.
All right, this episode of MCUEx, we're going to talk about how much we hate DC.
No, I like DC. I just want them. I want better from them.
How much we love DC.
Yeah, I did not. Well, there were a few good Harley Quinns.
Okay, here's our tangent.
There are so damn many Harley Quinns at Comic-Con.
So Thursday Thursday, some friends and I started counting Harley Quinns. This is how this game began. We got up to 80 before we stopped. And then I began the game with you.
But that was Friday, which was the day of the Stranger Things panel.
Yes. So that meant that we were competing to see whether there were more 11s or Harley Quinns. And neither one of us could keep track. So I believe there were roughly 8 million of each?
Yeah, something like that. And we also counted Deadpools.
Not as many this year as there have been previously.
No, I was surprised. Although on, I think, Saturday, when we were in Artist Alley and the horde of Deadpools came marching in.
Just a little request from Deadpools everywhere. Can you please not be so Deadpool-y?
Exactly. One Deadpool is fun to watch, but annoying to be around. 100 is just too much.
Yeah, it was a little much, but a lot of respect to those guys who put so much time and effort into those costumes.
Yeah,
I mean,
tons.
There were a couple Deadpools especially that were just perfect. They looked like they could have been Ryan Reynolds.
There were some where I was like, are you the right height? I want to hear your voice just to make sure you're not secretly Ryan Reynolds.
Right. Because he would.
He would. But let's talk about the panels that we saw.
Right. And I was just about to say that. I actually had a transition, Doug.
Oh, well, I was going to say... I clumsily tried to get us here.
Speaking of people who hide in costume...
Oh, that's right, yes.
On the Comic-Con floor, we got to see a couple panels, including Adam Savage.
Yes.
Who went around on the Comic-Con floor as Totoro. And that was just a fun panel. He did a nice little Q&A.
Yeah.
No big surprises coming out of that other than... He's about to do a tour with Michael from Vsauce.
Which is awesome. I'm excited for that.
No, that is so awesome. But I think... I just love listening to him because he represents the nerd community so well.
Yeah, he does. He really does. All the best aspects of it. And none of the horrible aspects. And there are plenty of those.
Yeah. He is passionate, he's driven, he's creative. And he loves other people's work.
Yes, yeah.
Like, he was celebrating people who would come up to get autographs from him later. I was seeing pictures from him where if someone had, like, thrown together a costume that he just liked, even if it wasn't great, he would tweet about it. He would send it out. And so I think that's great. And there's a lot of negativity out there in, people saying, oh, you don't have the right body type, or you're not the right, gender for that costume. Adam Savage represents the best of us.
Yeah. And a lot of you guys might have seen this because it hit the front page of Reddit. There was the amazing Mystique cosplay.
Right, that's where we saw her.
And she was at the Adam Savage panel. She asked a question, and Adam Savage thought it was amazing. And then the next morning, I wake up and I see her on the front page of Reddit. It was Mystique, like halfway through transforming
into Stryker.
Yeah. So she was like half Mystique and half like in this military outfit. It was so cool.
If you're watching this, you've probably actually seen it already.
If you're the type of person that watches us on YouTube, you probably go on Reddit. You've probably seen it.
And yeah, we're sorry that you watch us.
So 3 other people that were incognito in costumes. Clark Gregg, Chloe Bennett, and Gabriel Luna, who play Coulson, Daisy, and Robbie Reyes on Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. So Friday night was the Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. panel, and we got to see the most recent episode. We saw it it's the one that aired just a few days ago. We saw it a couple days early, which was cool. It was a really good episode. We'll talk about that in a sec.
Yeah, it was an incredible episode.
It was a really, really good episode. Maybe the best action that's ever been on Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D.
I've always been very cautious about Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. I enjoy it, but I don't love it. And if they can keep this up...
Yeah. Yes.
This would change everything for me.
Agreed. Everything worked.
Yeah.
Whether it was the action or the May and Dr. Radcliffe.
Oh, yeah.
I like him. I'm really interested to see where his character goes and how they develop that.
Well, I mean, he's got a life model decoy now.
Yes.
The first we've seen.
Not the first we've heard about.
No.
Tony Stark mentions it in the Avengers.
You've reached the life model decoy of Tony Stark.
Exactly. But anyway, so another video that we saw, which again Marvel has posted, was Clark and Chloe and Gabriel walking the floor dressed as Rocket, Ghost Rider, and who was the third one?
Star-Lord.
Star-Lord, right.
Star-Lord.
Right. and talking to people about Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D., some of whom didn't really like the show very much.
Nope.
But yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, the reactions from people were amazing on that.
Yeah.
And the crowd went absolutely insane in that panel for it.
Yeah.
A lot of times we couldn't even hear what was happening. I had to watch it again once they posted it online.
Same.
Just because it's a really excited crowd, strangely. People who wait in line for hours to go hear people talk are excited. Who'd have thunk it?
Dr. Strangely, yes.
What? Say what, Doug?
Another thing from that panel that we saw, and this is something we've kind of speculated about.
Yeah.
The weird box thing with all the ghosts that infected May on Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. The infected look similar to Mads Mikkelsen's character, Caecilius, I believe is how you pronounce his name, in Doctor Strange. With around the eyes.
Yeah.
And so we were thinking it might be some way that they're going to do that tie-in.
And going into that panel, we were actually discussing that as a bit of a theory.
Yeah.
And we got what I would think is like as close to a confirmation as we're going to get.
Right.
That there is some similarity there.
What Coulson said is that...
Coulson?
Yes, he's Coulson. He is Coulson. First name Agent, he is Coulson. What Coulson said is that they've introduced a lot of magic stuff, which seems kind of, strange. And then he talked about how, and there's also that movie that's coming out with Benedict Cumberbatch. So, yeah, it seems like this is how Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. is going to tie into Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Which is exciting because sometimes Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. really mishandles their movie tie-ins.
Yeah, like the second Thor?
Thor the Dark World, they're just there cleaning up.
And not even well. It's just sort of like a little bit of cleaning up. Like... Might as well have just given Fitzsimmons some brooms and been like, you know what? Let's not clean up after all.
Exactly. And then...
Greenwich is fine.
But, even their Age of... obviously their Winter Soldier tie-in was the biggest they've had and probably ever will have.
Right.
But their Winter Soldier tie-in... their Age of Ultron tie-in was really disappointing.
When he called in the helicarrier, yeah.
Well, yeah, and that was cool. But, it wasn't really... impactful.
No.
This, it looks like there's a multi-episode arc that ties in with Doctor Strange, even if it's just kind of tangentially, but I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and I think what we'll end up seeing is that it'll be more thematically linked where, hey, look, maybe the borders between these worlds in Doctor Strange is starting to bleed and leak across because of whatever, Mads Mikkelsen or some device that someone's created or some stone, whatever. And I think we'll be seeing the effects of that in Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D., but it won't try and be a direct tie-in, which is, I think, what's led them astray in the past, is they've tried to make it a direct tie-in.
Right.
Whereas it's such a big universe, there are bound to be ripples and after effects and things coming before it that can definitely affect the universe that the show is in without it feeling like they're sort of like trying too hard to make it connected. Or as Jeff Loeb would not let us forget, it's all connected.
Yes.
Said it, 8 times?
Yeah, he loves saying it, and every time he says it, he says, I always get in trouble for saying that, or people on the internet tease me for saying this, but, and then I'll say it 10 times.
Yeah.
Speaking of it's all connected, one of the questions that was asked, so the end of the Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. panel, after we got to see the episode, they did a quick Q&A. Yeah. And one of the questions that was asked was, when is S.h.i.e.L.D. going to acknowledge the vigilantes in Hell's Kitchen and in Harlem? Especially since now, spoilers for Luke Cage is a pretty public figure.
Oh, yeah.
And Daredevil's getting newspaper...
known.
Right, and Daredevil's got newspaper articles about him, and Jessica Jones is not so under the radar that S.h.i.e.L.D. wouldn't have heard of them.
Yeah. Yeah, so, if Tony Stark can find Peter Parker,
right, exactly.
I think S.h.i.e.L.D. can find these 3.
And when that question got asked, everybody got excited. And Loeb's answer was that it's a fair question. The answer is stay tuned.
Right.
And the way he said, I don't know, what was your read on the way he said it? Because there's the stay tuned, it might happen in the future type answer, and then there's the we're working on something, but we're not ready to announce anything yet.
I took it to be that there was some plan, if not to directly, connect them, to at least have some direct mentions.
That was the way I took it as well, because when that question's been answered been asked in the past, like last year at New York Comic Con, for example, somebody asked Clark Gregg the exact same question at a Q&A, and Jeff Loeb was also there. I think they asked him, any chance that Coulson will show up in Daredevil?
Yeah.
And Clark Gregg is a huge Iron Fist fan. He said he really wanted to be in that. But Jeff Loeb's response was basically that it's only slightly less complicated than making a deal with another studio entirely to get different networks talking to each other. And to cross over Netflix and ABC characters would almost be as difficult as crossing over Fox and Disney characters.
Yeah.
So the way he made it sound was never say never, but don't get your hopes up. Whereas this year, it definitely seemed more like it probably will happen at some point.
And I think it might reflect a change in how Loeb is approaching things, because I think previously he has really wanted to tie things directly. Coulson calls in the helicarrier,
right?
Things like that. Whereas you can link these thematically without infringing on another network's rights. You can have something like, just say, well, look, you got that mass vigilante up out in New York,
right?
You've got that guy who could basically tear Harlem down. He survived a rocket blast.
Right, exactly.
You can say things like that. They
mention it, or they offhandedly say, maybe we should index them.
Right.
Something like that.
And the Accords are the way to do that.
Yes.
Because the Accords, since we can't really avoid it anymore, we got to talk about the most recent episode of Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D.
Yeah, let's get more into that.
The Accords have been the thing this year. And, and it's been a little ham-fisted mentioning it previously.
Yes.
But I think we're really going to see what shakes out from Civil War, which was actually a complaint people had, which was, it wasn't really a civil war. It was a fight between a couple people over a single incident. And that was about it. The Accords were sort of set dressing for the whole thing. But I think what we're seeing in Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. is we're seeing how that plays out. What happens when Yo-Yo registers, but we have unregistered people.
Right. And that aspect, and I think this is a way to bring in some aspects that work really well for the X-Men, making them outcast. The group, the Watchdogs.
Yeah.
You can imagine something like that really existing if
absolutely.
Inhumans popped up. Hunting them down, or just wanting to get the list of people who have registered on the Accords and publish it.
You could imagine like WikiLeaks posting a list
of people who have registered under the Accords. Right. Absolutely, you could imagine that. And how bad that would be, and how that would make people say, I'm not going to register. Which adds another layer to Civil War and makes it even more two-sided.
Yeah, and you take that, and again, you build on the theme. So Loeb used to, I think, want to make everything direct, and now it's thematic.
Yeah.
And I think that's why this is the time that we are going to start seeing connections. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see some connections in the next few episodes. I mean, I have no proof of this, obviously, but I would love to just see some mention of Luke Cage, especially because we just had the show.
Right.
The show just happened. Make some mention of Luke Cage. He hit the news within his own universe, within his own little neighborhood, within the country.
And I believe there was even a WHIH clip.
There was,
Was it in Luke Cage, or was it in the most recent episode of Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D.? I remember seeing it in the background of one of them.
I'm pretty sure it was Luke Cage.
Somebody correct us if we're wrong. But I was going to say Luke Cage, then I realized it might have been Agents of S.h.i.E.L.D. But I know I've seen it recently.
I've been watching too much Marvel, and it's all been like back to back to back.
It's been a Marvel-heavy week for me.
Yes, absolutely. But Comic-Con did not help with that in the least. That's why I took some nice little breaks to go look at art while I was there.
Sure.
But yeah, this season of Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. is shaping up to be my favorite already.
Same here. I will say, though, that now that they're making the Watchdogs more than just like a minor faction, they're making them like a nationally recognized thing, and Inhumans are well known enough to be mentioned on the news. Bring them into the movies. That has to happen.
Yeah. It comes down to the idea of you can do it thematically better than you can do it directly. So you don't bring a character over.
Fine. Yeah, just mention the idea that there are tons of enhanced people popping up. Drop the word Inhumans. They say the Inhumans movie is still happening. I have my doubts.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening at this point.
It's not happening at least until like 2021.
I think they'll sub something in its place.
Oh, in that 2019 spot? Doctor Strange sequel.
Fine, then whatever they...
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Because that 2019... Originally, it was just delayed indefinitely,
and
the reason
2.5
they gave
years out makes sense.
The reason they gave is they didn't want it to conflict with Indiana Jones 5.
We wouldn't want that.
I don't think that's happening either. But anyway,
Yeah, can we go off on an Indiana Jones rant? So long as Shia LaBeouf's in it, I'll be happy.
Sure, yeah, everybody loves him.
Mutt, the best character in the Indiana Jones franchise.
That's the opinion that everybody has.
And if
Crystal Skull was the best movie.
Because it had aliens and magic and Indiana Jones being old.
Yes.
Which is what we all wanted.
That's what we all wanted. We all said, that really, really cool character, what's he like as an old man doing the exact same thing?
It's like, I always thought, hey, James Bond?
Right.
What would it be like if we just had a whole movie of him in a coma?
Exactly. See, Hollywood, take notice. These are the types of movies we want. We want more Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
More Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, more Transformers Rise of the Extinction of the Fallen.
Yep. Anyway. But I think just like they announced Ant-Man and the Wasp for about 3 years after Ant-Man came out, I think if Doctor Strange is as well received as I'm expecting it will be, a Doctor Strange sequel will be put somewhere in 2019 where Inhumans would have gone.
That makes sense. And look, you already have the character of Jarvis or not Jarvis anymore, Vision, who talks about,
the number of enhanced.
Right, escalation.
Right.
And it wouldn't take much to just, in another thing, just be like, I've warned you about, the escalation. We had just us, and now we have countless of these Inhumans.
Right, exactly.
Around.
All I want is drop the word, mention that it's a thing, and then ignore it until you decide to bring them into the movies with the royal family, if that ever happens. I'm fine with that, but you need to bring it in somehow. Nick.
How would you feel if it was a throwaway in an after credit scene?
I'm fine with that.
Really?
Absolutely.
You would take, because, a lot of the audience doesn't sit through those.
I do.
And
it's in a movie. That's all I care about.
That would be enough.
If the after credit scene of Doctor Strange, which by the way has apparently leaked, if you want a description of the after credit scene, we're not looking at it.
So please don't share that in the comments, and now everyone's going to do it, right?
Oh shit! Yeah, now everybody's gonna. Please, if you post it in the comments, we won't like you very much. We've even mentioned that. Anyway, if the after credit scene,
if you're gonna post it, put spoiler, put about 20 returns, and then you can post it.
Yeah, don't be a dick, or we will delete your comment. I will. I personally will delete your comment if you post spoilers without a warning, because that's a dick move. Anyway.
It's just good internet protocol.
Right. But I feel like if the after credit scene of Doctor Strange was just Vision showing up and being like, hey Doc, how about all these Inhumans? Cut to black. I'd be like, well, that makes no sense, but I'm fine with it.
Phases through a wall in his sweater.
Yes.
And just be like, Doctor, there are a lot of these Inhumans.
And nothing else. I'm fine with that.
Also, what is this thing?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Done. No, seriously, any sort of acknowledgement in the movies that Inhumans are a thing that exists so that they can bring them in to have a bigger role later is fine.
All right.
I'm just tired of it feeling like Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. is taking place in an alternate America where there are 10 or 100 times more enhanced people than there are in the movies.
Yeah. I mean, you might as well just have the separate universes that DC has.
Right. And if they did that from the beginning, that'd be fine. But they didn't. They said it's all connected. They said it's all one universe. So live up to that. And you don't have to have Inhumans joining the Avengers yet, but you do have to at least acknowledge that they're a thing.
Yeah, just like Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. has to acknowledge that the Defenders are a thing now.
Yes. Well, now they definitely do. When it was just Daredevil, it was fine. But now that, especially when, and we'll talk about Luke Cage, because there were parts of Luke Cage that I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
And one of them was Luke Cage becoming a public figure, and the cultural...
He's like Iron Man now.
The cultural reaction to Luke Cage as a public figure, with all the stuff that's going on with police brutality and racial relationships in America, and all of that, and then you have this very, very public figure, and with the bullet hole hoodie thing, he as a symbol goes viral. When it gets to that, and I loved that about Luke Cage, but that does bring it to a public enough profile where you got to start acknowledging it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And Luke
again,
Cage has to be the tipping point.
I don't need Coulson to show up and talk to Luke Cage. I just need him to acknowledge that it's a thing. That's all I want. And I don't think that's asking too much. And I think that would be enough to satisfy a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't need, and this might not be something you get, I don't need Buffy and Angel levels of tie-ins where you have a character leave one episode, show up on the other show the next episode, and come back the next episode, and it all makes sense.
Or to keep it in the superhero universe. They don't need to tie in as much as, like, Arrow and Flash do. I watch Flash still. Arrow is...
Sound off in the comments about how much you hate Arrow Season 2.
Oh, I don't think this is a controversial opinion at all. I think everybody in the comments who watches Arrow will agree with me. That show was fun, and then it got real bad. Flash is still good, though.
That's what I hear. Mostly from you.
Well, yeah, because I'm the only one that talks about it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think acknowledgement is the key. But I think that also leads us very nicely into the other major panel we saw.
Yes.
Which started out officially as what, an Iron Fist?
It was, yes. So Saturday night, it was called the Iron Fist panel. Although it really wasn't that. The bulk of it was Iron Fist, but it started out Luke Cage, then got into Iron Fist, then got into Defenders, and then surprise Punisher. Or no, I had that backwards. It was Punisher, then Defenders.
Yeah. And I have to say, we did get a little bit of a hint that this was going to be big.
We had a feeling. I mean,
Well, we spoke to somebody who, earlier in the day...
That's right, yes.
Maybe we shouldn't name names just in case they weren't supposed to say things.
Fair enough, although... Yeah, I won't name names. Anyway, we ran into somebody who had some sort of connection.
Yes.
And who had some sort of inside knowledge. And when we mentioned that we were going to that panel, he just kind of looked at us and he goes, "You're going to see some shit."
Yeah.
And that was all he would tell us, but we did.
We desperately tried to get him to give us more information.
Right. We were hiding our press passes and asking for more information.
But it was so worth it. I mean,
was...
and we stood in that shoot line for what, like 90 minutes or more?
Yeah, we got there. The panel started at like 7:30, and we got there at like 5.
Yeah.
So and we were not even close to the first ones in line.
No.
People had been waiting there since like 1.
Yeah. In fact, I think that was the panel that Jeff Loeb made people applaud for when they got there. Oh no, the warm-up guy.
The warm-up guy was asking when people had gotten there, and the earliest person had gotten there at like 1:30 or something crazy ridiculous. Like that.
But honestly, having been through it now, I don't blame him.
No, so worth it.
Absolutely worth it.
So
yeah, I don't think we can sort of talk around it anymore. We have to talk about it.
Let's kind of walk through the panel, and I have the tweets. We live tweeted these panels, by the way. So we're just going to go through these tweets and kind of walk through the panel and see what we saw. So it started with a sizzle reel of all the Netflix shows, and ended with some new footage from Iron Fist, which was exciting. And then Jeff Loeb comes out, and at that point, the only person that was announced to show up was Jeff Loeb and Finn Jones, and then like the cast of Iron Fist, but it didn't specifically say which cast members of Iron Fist. And at that point, Jeff Loeb, before bringing anybody else out, says there's going to be a surprise at the end of this panel. Yep. So until I tell you, like the end of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. When he says it's over, go home, don't go home until he says that. So the first person he brought out was actually Eric LeRae Harvey, who played Diamondback in Luke Cage.
Which was so cool. His entrance was amazing.
His entrance was awesome.
Which, by the way, I should just say, I didn't see Luke Cage before going to the panel.
Right, yeah, let's talk about that. So you were late on the Luke Cage train.
I was. I actually started watching it the nights after I would come back from Comic-Con.
Right.
Just to really overdo the whole comic book thing.
Yes.
And my God, why did I wait?
So good, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And I know you were a little worried that having Diamondback pop up on stage would ruin things a little bit.
Well, because they played his very first scene, which, again, we're going to be spoiling Luke Cage. So if you haven't seen it yet, bookmark this video, come back and watch it when you finished it. Yeah. But they play his first scene, which, if you don't remember, is when he shows up to the meeting between Black Mariah and all the other...
It's actually one of his later scenes. That's like his fifth scene. Yeah, his first scene is coming after Luke on the street.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, it's
one of the his most influential scene, I think.
It's probably the coolest scene he has.
Most spoilery.
And definitely the most spoilery.
There were certain characters going in I knew wouldn't survive the show.
Where it's the meeting between Black Mariah and all the other gang leaders. And Diamondback shows up uninvited and kills everybody except Mariah and, what's his name? The one who leads the Puerto Rican gang.
Boxing guy.
Doesn't matter.
Anyway, forget his name.
Kills basically everybody in the room in a really badass way. And that's how we see... Because up until that point, we'd kind of heard about Diamondback. Cottonmouth and Shades had mentioned Diamondback as this intimidating guy, but we hadn't really seen
all that good stuff. Yeah.
And then we did see it, and it was very cool. So they brought him out because they kept him a secret until Luke Cage dropped. So they brought him out to kind of like publicly thank him and acknowledge how awesome he was, which they couldn't do before.
Yeah, basically, thanks for keeping your mouth shut
during
publicity season. I will say Diamondback did also have the only thing that disappointed me about the entire show, and that was his costume. Yeah,
his costume was not great.
I recognize that it's a great nod to what was in the comics. Mm-hmm. His look in the comics, he was like a flat top guy. Looked
cheesy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't fit the world that they had built.
I like that it was made by Hammer Tech, though.
I loved all the Hammer Tech.
Yeah.
Like, what is Justin Hammer doing right now? The last we saw him in All Hail the King or whatever that's called.
He was in Seagate.
Right, he was in Seagate. Did he escape with the Mandarin? If you guys don't watch one-shots, by the way, you should totally check them out.
Watch the one-shots, yeah.
Because otherwise this is going to make no sense.
Well, but even if he didn't escape, and I'd have to check the timeline on this, but I think Luke Cage and Shades were in Seagate around 2013. Mm-hmm. And All Hail the King came out in 2014? Whenever Trevor Slattery went to Seagate, it showed that since Iron Man 2... 2014. So Trevor Slattery went there in 2014, which meant that from 2010, when Iron Man 2 happened, to 2014, Justin Hammer was in Seagate.
Yeah.
And that covers the time period that Shades was there. And, of course, Shades has the connection to Diamondback. So it's totally plausible that they made that connection in Seagate.
But who's running the damn company?
Oh, Hammer?
Yeah.
Oh, who knows?
Right, that's my question there. Yeah. Like, who's making Hammer Tech now?
I'm sure it's still Justin Hammer. It's just not publicly.
I could buy you a bird. I'll buy you 10 birds.
I love Sam Rockwell. He is a national treasure.
Be in more Marvel movies, Sam Rockwell.
Please.
I would love for him to come out just in the middle of, like, Infinity War.
Well, if they ever do, like, a Thunderbolts movie, and they have these villains kind of forming a team, I'd love to see him as, like, the Tony Stark funding it all.
Yeah. No, I would love to just have him come out and have Tony, like, be like, look, I know we haven't always gotten along, but I need you now.
I need your drones. Yeah, right. That'd be great.
I need your drones. And he'd be like, how many? All of them. That'd be a great moment. Like, he busts him out.
To see the more sympathetic villains come back when they realize that, okay, yeah, maybe I'm not a good guy, but I don't want the Earth destroyed.
Right.
So I'm going to help the Avengers out.
I live on the Earth.
Right, exactly. Justin Hammer, I feel like, would help out. He's one of the few that have survived, actually. So maybe it's just Justin Hammer.
I feel like Loki would help for a little bit.
Oh, I think Loki will be in all seriousness.
Yeah. I mean, if we're just gonna treat him as a strict villain.
We're joking about Justin Hammer, but I do think Loki will wind up turning on Thanos and helping the Avengers out in Infinity War.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. Has anybody else survived? I'm
sure. Yeah, people have. Stane's dead. Red Skull is questionable.
Maybe just on the other side of the universe.
Yeah, but even if he did just get teleported, it's still been 70 years, and he's not immortal. He still ages.
Yeah, but slower.
Maybe.
It's a whole other question, though.
Loki's still kicking around.
Dark elves in general. I mean, that race has to be around.
Malekith died.
But dark elves in general.
No, they were basically extinct. That was his whole thing.
Was it?
Yeah. I think so.
Man, I don't remember that movie at all.
Thor 2 is not the most memorable. It's a fun movie, not the most memorable.
Fun game with your friends. If they've watched all the Marvel movies, they enjoy the Marvel movies, ask them in 5 seconds or less to name the villain of Thor 2. Most can't. The best that most people get is like, it's an M, I think? It's an M sound?
Ronan's dead. Rumlow's dead. Pierce is dead. Mm-hmm. Ultron's dead.
Yeah.
Is Justin Hammer the only villain? No, he can't
Well,
possibly
I mean,
be.
we do have Trevor, the Mandarin.
Trevor Slattery is maybe, and the real Mandarin.
Mandarin's out there somewhere.
Alive somewhere.
I mean, it's the Netflix villains that are surviving.
Yeah, and by the way, let's get back to Luke Cage for a minute.
Let's.
You did not like Mariah. See, I loved her. I think she was ending of the season when she and Shades get away with everything.
No, I like her arc. Here's the separation. I love her as a character. I would hate her as a person.
Oh, sure. Yeah, she's terrible.
Right.
She's despicable.
And like people like Kingpin, I actually like find really fascinating as people. But she was so conniving and so willing to turn on everything.
Yes.
That it made me actually hate her as a person, despite the fact that she's fictional.
But do you not want to see a team up between her and Kingpin?
No, I want them to see a team up
desperately.
because I know that she would run the show if they were teamed up.
I don't know. Season 1 Kingpin, I agree. But after seeing him in Season 2 of Daredevil, what prison has done to him, I think if she tried to pull shit on him, he would destroy her.
I think he's more violent. I think she's building up protection around herself now.
That's fair.
And is smarter than he is, like by a huge margin. She knows when the time to compromise is. She knows when the time to like sacrifice all of her values is.
Yeah.
And Kingpin, for better or for worse, does have a code that he tries to stick to.
That's fair.
He's very much the Joker in The Dark Knight. At least season 1 of Daredevil. Where he's trying to do good by doing bad.
You think that's what the Joker was about? I wouldn't really say he was trying to do good. He was trying to disrupt things. He had a code.
Yeah.
But Kingpin, I think, ultimately really does want to make Hell's Kitchen better.
Yeah.
Joker had no such noble goals.
I think that it can be inferred from the boat scenes. I think that alone.
Oh, fair. Yeah, he was trying to uncover something about humanity
Right.
and expose it for what it was. Yeah, that's fair.
That we were either selfish or greedy, and he exposed that we were or selfish or selfless, and exposed that we were more or less selfless. In fact, the worst of us are often the best of us, and I think that the prisoner in that, it can also be described as an analog to the Joker. As we're getting off topic.
Yes, we are, but that's okay. The prisoner in that, by the way, was that not who played the prisoner in that?
Boat, prisoner, Dark Knight. Please excuse my Googling. Dark Knight full cast and crew. Oh, this is gonna take a while. You vamp for a while while I look this up. Talk about Luke Cage.
Anyway, yeah, so I'll talk about Luke Cage. One of the things that I liked but did not like was that Cottonmouth was a great character, and he was not a good villain for Luke Cage. Mm-hmm. Because in the end, he presented no threat to Luke Cage.
No.
He was in way over his head almost immediately. And so he had to go about halfway through the season. And the way they took him out, I thought was great. But...
Yeah, and he didn't go out in the way that I think anyone was expecting.
No. I thought Diamondback or Shades would wind up being the ones to kill him.
Right.
And that it was Mariah, I thought was great. And it kind of revealed that she was the real villain.
Yeah, well, I think that even in some of the flashbacks, you saw little glimmers of that as well.
Yes, true. But my problem with it is Cottonmouth was so damn charismatic that
oh my God, yeah, he's great.
When he left, even though it made sense for the story and I knew he had to, and Diamondback was a much better threat, he was just never quite as charismatic, never quite as enjoyable to watch as Cottonmouth was.
Yeah.
So it felt like kind of a step down, even though the real villain the whole time was Mariah. And by the end, that was clear, and I liked it. But yeah, Diamondback overall I liked, but there were a few things that were a little disappointing. And so I would say most of my problems with the season came from him.
Yeah, he was a little too scenery chewing for me.
Yeah.
I mean, he was great. He was menacing. He was a threat.
Yeah.
He was the brains and Luke was the brawn.
Right.
And you pit those two against each other, and you see what happens. And I love the entire storyline of him trying to frame Luke for what was going on.
Yeah.
And I love I love that his plan amounted to punching people and going, "I'm Luke Cage."
Not an overly complex plan, but one that worked.
Right. Very simple. I mean, if you have someone who you feel cannot die,
right,
you wouldn't question them if they started shouting their name while punching cops.
And his and Mariah's plan to really stoke the fear in the police and then sell them weapons that could kill him was so great. Which
was Mariah's plan, because that was not the original plan.
No, the original plan was just punching people saying I'm Luke Cage. And pretty much. I mean,
to reinforce their criminal empire.
Right.
But she made them go legit.
Yes. And I thought that was great. And as soon as that plan came about, that was when I realized that Mariah was maybe one of my favorite Netflix characters I've ever seen.
Hold on. Question.
Yes.
Because we were talking about Hammer. What if Hammer started showing up on the Netflix shows?
That'd be a perfect place for him.
Especially through Mariah.
Yeah.
If Mariah breaks him out because she's got political connections, she's like, your parole's up, And
I also feel like the types of projects Sam Rockwell usually does are not really a Marvel movie, but the Netflix shows are a lot closer to the kind of shit he usually does, so that would be cool.
Yeah, if we're being complete idiots right now, sound off on the comments, No,
I don't think we are being complete idiots. I don't think it's going to happen,
no,
but I think it would make a lot of sense and be really cool.
Yeah, and, hey, look, Mariah wants to make more profit, so she starts going around her real connections in order to go direct to the source and realizes, hey, right now there's a lot of red tape around Hammer Tech, but if I can get Justin Hammer, the moment he's free again, the company goes back to him, he'd be indebted to me, I can now sell more weapons. She can sell weapons to Kingpin, she can sell weapons to everybody.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. She becomes like a really legitimate arms dealer in New York.
And then Gal can just be doing whatever she's doing?
Yes. And she... Now, this is a long series of tangents that started talking about the Iron Fist panel.
That's correct.
And when you talk about Madame Gao, she actually made a brief appearance in the Iron Fist trailer.
So brief, we had to ask each other,
was that Gao? Yeah. Right. Or are we just racist thinking all Asian old women look the same? But no, it was her. So... the Jessica Stroup and Tom Pelphrey, who play the Meacham siblings.
Yes.
Harold and Joy. No, not Harold. Which Meacham? Harold is the father. Can't remember which Meacham it is.
Meacham and Meacham.
Meacham and Joy Meacham is the sister. Are there. As was Rosario Dawson, who got a huge reaction from the audience.
Yeah, the audience went nuts for her.
And David Wenham, who plays Harold Meacham, their father, who is going to be the main, or at least appears to be the main villain in the series.
Although with the way Netflix shows go, it'll be like 6 episodes of him as the villain, and then someone else will be.
Sure. Well, I think he'll be the villain until we get the more mystical villain, whoever that is that's connected to the hand. And then, of course, Jessica Hennick, who plays Colleen Wing, and Finn Jones.
Yeah, and I love the tie-in at the end of Luke Cage with Colleen.
Yes, as Claire, and a lot of people apparently missed this. Claire, at the very end of the season, takes like a number that she sees on a flyer for Colleen Wing's dojo.
Yeah, for like self-defense classes.
And they actually mentioned this. Jeff Loeb says that in Iron Fist, Claire gets to kick a lot of ass. And when he said that, Rosario Dawson says, well, I have a good sensei. And we see Colleen Wing in action in some of the clips. We saw 5 clips from Iron Fist.
Yeah, let's just walk through those.
We'll walk through the clips. Because Colleen Wing's clip is incredible.
Yeah, otherwise we're going to get off on a lot of tangents.
Right, so let's try and get through this panel.
I will do my best, Doug.
All right.
No promises.
It's going to be a long episode, but that's fine. Like I said, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it was a big weekend.
It was. So the very first clip we saw was Danny. It looks like it's relatively soon after he gets back to New York because he's still looking like a hobo. And he goes back into Rand Industries. Was it Industries? Enterprise?
Corp, I think. I think it's Rand Corp.
He goes into the Rand building, which is his father's company, his company. And he kind of says who he is. They don't believe him, obviously, because of the way he looks. He gets thrown out by security guards.
Yeah, he's also muttering about how he used to skateboard in the lobby.
Right. Yeah, he looks and sounds like a crazy person claiming to be a dead man.
Right, he's like, oh, I guess Dolores doesn't work here anymore, or whatever the original secretary's name was.
Right.
But, yeah.
And also asking to talk to Harold Meacham, who is also a dead man, as far as everybody else knows. So he gets taken out by security, but he really needs to get into the building, so he sneaks back in, and this is the first clip we see of Iron Fist in action. And he takes out all these security guards, like 4 or 5 security guards.
Yep.
But he does it in a way where he's clearly not trying to hurt them.
Yeah.
Just, incapacitate them.
This is the most graceful fighting they've had yet.
Graceful is the perfect word for it.
Because it is a dance, but it also has a lot of strength behind it. And I think you're right. It's clear that he's not trying to hurt these guys. He knows that they're not against him. They just don't understand why he's there.
Yes.
So he just needs to get past them without hurting them.
Right.
So he very simply puts each one down over and over and over again, gets through the door, and then locks it by putting like a billy club or something through the door.
Right. And one of the things that I love is that the 4 defenders, now we've seen all 4 of them fight. They all have very different fighting styles. Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, I'd say, are the 2 that are most similar.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But just because they look so different, I mean, one's a big dude, the other's a fairly... I mean, Kristen Ritter is not a big girl, not a big woman.
No. But I also think because of the differences in their invulnerability,
right,
you naturally have a different fighting style. Like Luke is very willing to stand there and take it.
Yes.
A little bit of rope-a-dope. And I think that was...
Luke will calmly walk up to somebody and then just one hit knock them out.
And you see that especially in how he resolves the Diamondback fight.
Right.
He literally just waits him out.
Yes. And that was awesome.
Right. And so that's what he does. Whereas Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones has to be a little bit more on guard and a little bit more manic with her style.
Right. But yeah, Iron Fist, he looks awesome in this clip, and we see him fight. And then we see him fight with a little more intent to harm later on in the 3rd or 4th clip, and that's it's a lot more brutal, but it's still extremely graceful, and it still is like a dance.
Yeah, I don't even remember. What was the second clip?
So the second clip...
I remember the big ones.
The second clip
now I remember.
is Danny talking to the Meacham siblings.
Yeah.
I keep almost calling them the Meacham twins, which I don't think they are.
Correct us in the comments.
But anyway, talking to them, basically saying they've stolen his company. They're not going to get away with this. They owe him his company back.
And the big line.
And the big line is, I have Hogarth now. Talking, of course, about Jerry Hogarth, Carrie-Anne Moss's character in Jessica Jones, who we kind of figured might be showing up in Iron Fist because Jaren Hogarth is a Iron Fist character in the comics originally. And yes, sure enough, and actually an article came out today saying that Carrie-Anne Moss will have a really important role to play in Iron Fist. So all these connections between the Defenders are really starting to take shape. Very exciting.
That was one of the moments that the audience went nuts as well.
Yes.
And that's...
As soon as Hogarth got a name drop.
I think that's one of the best things about watching something with so many people who are so fanatical is that they will get every reference, and no matter how subtle something is, there will be a huge number of people, even if not a huge percentage, that get it and will just go nuts for the fact that you mentioned it at all.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was one of those moments.
Yeah.
That and Rosario Dawson.
Yes. So that was the second clip. Fairly short. No action, but still super interesting.
Actually, I will say my favorite moment was during the whole Iron Fist bit, or not Iron Fist, Luke Cage bit, when Rosario was out and Mike comes out and someone just yells, "He still owes you coffee."
Oh yeah.
Which, by the way, you do. You still owe her coffee.
Yes. I do like how coffee was a euphemism.
And then it wasn't.
The show.
And then it wasn't.
When wasn't it?
It very briefly became actual coffee.
Oh, I did not realize
And then it
that.
became a euphemism again.
Oh,
okay. They were like, then they just stopped being subtle at a certain point, like, how about something hot?
Right. Oh, right, in the van with the marshals at the very end when he's like, I was gonna get something like rich and Colombian, but you guys messed that up. And the guy has no idea. He's like, we can stop at Dunkin' Donuts before we get to the bridge if you want.
And he's just like, it's not the same. Which, oh my god, his voice is just so amazing.
Who, Mike Coulter's?
Yeah,
it's great.
I honestly, he could say anything and I would just swoon probably.
He's a good looking dude.
You said it, not me.
I mean, I'm straight, but he's a good-looking dude.
Qualifying that statement a bit, Doug, but I'll let you walk away from it.
Anyway, third clip, Jeff Loeb basically just sets it up as, you know how we love our hallway fights. And then, sure enough, we get to see this amazing hallway fight where, he takes out, like, a bunch of different dudes, some of whom have an axe. We see it super briefly in the trailer, and it's awesome. I was tweeting.
You were tweeting. I remember that.
Right. So it's the kind of thing where I'll probably, when the show comes out in March of next year, I'm going to probably have to watch it a bunch of times. But it was very, very exciting.
It was perfect as far as I was concerned because we've already seen a couple hallway fights. The big one obviously being Daredevil.
Daredevil, yeah. Well, we had one in Daredevil Season 1.
Right.
2 in Daredevil Season 2.
But everyone remembers Season 1.
Because that was the first one and it was the most exciting. Yeah.
Right. And their ability to lock that camera off really worked. And I like that they're not trying to replicate that. Mm-hmm. This was a very kinematic sort of fight.
Yeah.
Where you were traveling with everybody. And it was...
Again, graceful.
Yeah. It was very similar to... Am I thinking of the right movie? The Raid? Where it's just like point A to point B.
Yeah.
He was just trying to get from a door to an elevator. Straight line in a hallway. And they didn't overcomplicate it. And
speaking of that elevator, after the clip, Jeff Loeb promised that after he gets in the elevator, the fight continues.
Yes.
And it's even better.
Yeah. And it was just perfect. Because we really haven't... I feel like a lot of what we've seen so far has been locked off. And this seems to be showing a change to, like... being a little, again, graceful. We're traveling with him.
Right.
And seeing how he fights in the moment, which smooths it out. It doesn't seem as brutal when we're just watching it as if we're looking at it from a security camera.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Which is sort of how a lot of Daredevil feels. You almost feel like someone stole the footage.
Yeah.
And this, you really felt like you were in it, and it felt like a dance, but a brutal dance.
And speaking of brutal, can we talk about the next clip?
Yeah, let's get to the next
clip. So,
clip.
Colleen Wing. Jeff Loeb talked about how they really wanted to get Colleen Wing right. And he's like, and I think we did. Check this out. And it's a cage match. Literally, she's in a cage.
Well, first of all, his introductions to everything were great.
Yeah.
Very
Jeff Loeb seems like everybody's fun dad. Or like fun uncle, maybe.
Yeah.
Like Clark Gregg is everybody's fun dad.
He's like everyone's loving dad. Like, I feel like Clark Gregg, if you just talk to him nicely, would like knit you a sweater.
Yeah, exactly.
And call you like sport.
Yes.
But Jeff Loeb he's either like I kept saying that he sounds a bit like Lewis Black.
A little bit, yeah.
Where he's got that sort of angry energy. That's up there with my Hannibal Buress impression, I think.
In terms of terrible impressions you do?
Great impressions, right.
Sure.
How good my impressions are. But this one especially, he was just like, and I think we got this right, and go.
Right. And they did. It's a brutal. Brutal is really the word that we keep using to describe this scene.
Yeah.
It's a cage match. Colleen Wing versus two guys.
And they give her a chance to back out at first.
Yeah. And
you sure you want to do this?
And it's not like in Luke Cage where he effortlessly destroys all of his opponents. Right. She takes a few hard hits.
Oh, she goes down on the mat at one point, and they're pummeling her.
Right. But she gives it right back, and it's awesome. And, again, brutal.
Yeah, and I mean, we had an arm snap. We had...
yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and I like that, we only have seen a handful of women fighting in the entire MCU.
Black Widow, Jessica Jones, and that's in Gamora and Nebula.
Yeah, but I love that we don't have like head scissor move. I love that we don't have anything we've seen before.
Yes.
We have, again, a brand new fighting style. They're not trying to replicate what they've done already. They just go for it. And this was, oh my God, I cannot wait to see how they use her in the show. Because
same here.
She could take down, I'm convinced, like any of the non-enhanced characters we've seen.
Definitely, yeah.
And could probably take down some of the enhanced. Like, she could probably take down Daredevil. She could probably take down Jessica Jones, given the shot.
Maybe.
That one's borderline for me. But
with one of those nuke pills, she could.
We don't. Are they going to be here?
Who knows?
Speculation.
Yeah, and then the last clip that we saw was Harold Meacham talking to Danny, and Danny is strapped down on what looks like maybe some sort of hospital bed
Something
or
like that.
asylum, some sort of place.
I would guess asylum.
Same here. I think they think he's crazy because obviously he can't be Danny Rand.
Right.
And
they're probably waiting for the, DNA test to come back just to prove it.
Right.
And just like in the movie Elf, it's going to be real.
Just like in the movie
Sorry,
Elf.
spoilers for Elf. He's actually his son. So who saw that coming?
Right. So he's talking to Danny, and he's super creepy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
He sings Danny Boy to him.
Well, he uses that as a test to see if he's really Danny Rand.
Right.
Where he's like, do you remember that song I used to sing to you to annoy you? And he's like, Danny Boy. And he sings it.
Yeah.
And it is just so menacing in a very subtle way.
Yeah. And he's also asking him all these questions about where were you? Where'd you go? What happened to you?
And a couple cool surprises in that.
A couple cool surprises and deviations from Iron Fist in the comics. First off, he says he trained with the Order of the Crane Mother. And he says that the Iron Fist is the sworn enemy of the Hand. And as soon as he says the Hand, Harold Meacham's like, the Hand? What's that? Clearly he knows. He just wants to see what Danny knows. So Harold has some connection to the Hand. As does Iron Fist. Which is, again, not in the comics at all, but it makes total sense.
Especially in the universe we've built.
In the universe we've built with that scene in, I think, the 6th or 7th episode of Season 1 of Daredevil, when Stick is talking to a mysterious figure who looks like Stone.
Yes.
And he talks about, like, the next time the gates open, he'll be ready. The gates, maybe the gates to, the 7 capital cities of heaven.
And that's where we get Danny Rand from.
Exactly.
Gates open, and he's like, all right, I'm getting out of here.
Right. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's cool to tie it in, and it gives us a clue as to where Defenders will go. Because it definitely seems like they're going to be facing off against the Hand, or maybe IGH or whatever the corporation is that gave Jessica her powers, which seems to also be connected to the experiments at Seagate. There's a lot of things that are connected in ways that we don't yet know.
And now we have the Doctor performing additional experiments. He has access to his full files now after Luke Cage. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that could happen. We could have a huge throwdown for Defenders.
Yes, and you can really, really see how these characters are going to come together because they're facing the same enemy, even if they don't yet know it, I think.
Right. And I don't want to be too premature with this, but so far, just based on the clips we saw, Iron Fist is looking like it might be my favorite.
Yeah, something about it had me feeling the same way.
And let me explain. For those who didn't see it, for those who weren't at Comic-Con, like, they had temp sound effects in there. It was all like, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
Yeah.
And still, it just worked.
Yeah.
I mean, they just finished shooting last week. They finished the morning
of the panel. Yeah.
And it was amazing. And if that's what they put together in, what do they do a shoot for? 3 months or something? Maybe more?
Longer than that. Yeah, like 4 or 5.
Okay. If that's what they can put together in 4 months, I mean, they have, 5 more months left?
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that thing.
I'm incredibly excited for it.
Yeah, it's going to be
to And then...
You heard it here first. It's got our endorsement, and we haven't seen it.
We're the first people to say that it's going to be good.
Episode 4 is going to blow your mind.
Sure, why not?
Let's come back to this. If episode 4 is great, we get to claim it.
Done.
MCUEx exclusive.
Remember this, everybody.
We told you
probably
first.
Won't.
Yeah, please, bother us in the comments after episode 4 of Iron Fist and tell us how right or wrong I was.
Yes.
I was probably wrong.
Yeah, so anyway, then the new trailer was shown, which obviously you guys have already seen.
Yeah.
Amazing. Super excited. My tweet was, glowing fist, dragon tattoo, Madam Gal, monks, get hyped.
And we did.
Yeah, we
did.
Get
hyped, we did.
And then
we got hyped some more.
Because we just hear 1 batch, 2 batch, penny and dime, as John Bernthal takes the stage to talk about Punisher and tell us that Punisher has started production
Which we sort of knew already.
Which we did know because set photos had leaked.
And as Jeff Loeb said, we were visiting sites on the internet that we shouldn't be visiting.
Like MCUExchange.com, where we did post these set photos, including the set photos with Deborah Ann Wall, who plays Karen Page. So we did kind of know that she'd be in Punisher already, but she was actually there to confirm that she would be not just in like a scene or an episode, but actually in, she'd be teaming up with Frank in this Punisher series.
Right.
So
this
that
was
exciting.
A really dense panel.
It was, yeah.
Remember, this was supposed to be an Iron Fist panel, and this is, for anyone who might have paused this and come back to it, we're still talking about the same panel.
Right, exactly.
This was one panel. And this is why Jeff Loeb told us not to leave until he says it's over, go home.
And it's still not over.
Right, and that's exactly why.
So John Bernthal talks a little bit about how excited he is and what playing Frank Castle means. And he and Deborah Ann Wall talk about how much they love working with each other. And then Finn Jones comes back. And he tells Jeff Loeb that before the panel ends, he wants to bring a few friends of his up. And sure enough...
And he's not talking about, like, guys he went to school with.
No. And we had a slight feeling this might happen.
Right.
Finn Jones is on stage, and Mike Coulter, and Kristen Ritter, and Charlie Cox all join him, and we have all 4 Defenders on stage for the first time ever, and it was awesome.
And they just, even out of costume, they looked right.
They look perfect together, yeah. One of them, I think it was Finn Jones, tweeted or Instagrammed a selfie of the 4 of them together, and they look like a team.
They really do.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, and it was... I was just like over the moon as a nerd.
Same.
I was just nerding out the entire time, and I don't think I really appreciated it until after the panel.
Yeah.
Because there was just so much. Now, question I have for you, and it's a question I know that's come up, is where do you think Punisher fits into the Defenders?
I don't think he does. Because his show... so we also got not release dates, but release years for the Defenders and Punisher. The Defenders we knew would be coming out in 2017. That was announced at San Diego Comic-Con. But Punisher was kind of up in the air, and it was confirmed that it will be coming out in 2017 as well, which means 2017 for the first time we'll be getting 3 Netflix shows. Yeah. Very exciting for that. But Punisher will be the 3rd. And so I don't think he will make an appearance in Defenders at all.
You don't even think he'll be like a sniper at a distance?
I don't think so.
You don't think... What about a mention of him?
A mention, maybe.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because Karen will be in Defenders.
Yeah.
And we got to get Karen to be still looking for Frank.
Okay.
Because right now, nobody knows where Frank is. He's just gone. He left. See you around Red. He's gone.
Yeah.
Karen, I think, will still look for him.
That's fair,
And I think we'll know that in the Defenders. And then maybe at the very end of the Defenders, she'll find him, and that'll kind of tease as a lead into the series.
Yeah, okay. I could see her, maybe not the last episode, because you need to keep the integrity of your story intact.
Right.
But have her, in one of the last few episodes, be like, you know what, I need to go.
Right. Or she finds a lead, or she gets a phone call from him, or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. I could see that working.
So, yeah, I think from Karen we'll get a mention of Punisher, but I don't think we'll actually see him.
Fair enough.
But you know who we will see in the Defenders?
Is it you? Are you in the Defenders?
I am. Yeah, breaking news. I am playing Daredevil. Charlie Cox dropped out, so I'm Daredevil now.
Show me some moves.
I can't. I'm not blind yet. That's the thing. I'm not that good of an actor, so they have to actually blind me.
Hold on, and we're good.
Yeah.
Daredevil.
I'm already Daredevil.
Looks just like him. I'm going to poke you in the eye as I do that.
But somebody has to be playing the villain of the Defenders.
What? Who? Someone's going to be playing a villain?
Yes, and...
Doug, whoever could it be?
It was announced, and she was there, although she didn't say a single word. Sigourney Weaver will be playing the villain in the Defenders.
And I don't even care who she's playing. She will play the hell out of
Not
that.
only do I not care, I have no friggin' idea. I could not make a guess who she's playing.
And the Netflix shows have gotten to a point now where they've already swapped the genders of characters around.
Yes.
So she could legitimately play anybody.
Yeah. And they've brought in characters that aren't traditionally characters from the comic book. So it might not be a Defenders villain.
No.
It might be, it could be a Spider-Man villain. It could be a Daredevil villain. It could be
She's playing
anybody.
Vulture.
I don't think that's it, but maybe.
Vulture.
So she comes out, and the crowd, when Sigourney walks onto stage, again, she never says a single word at the panel.
First of all, it was like 2 straight minutes of applause.
Right.
She just sort of goes...
Right. And then, do you...
I remember.
Okay, I was going to say, I don't know if you saw the tweet.
I joined in this chant.
Yes.
You were too busy doing your job.
Yes, the crowd in unison, which I love that it was happening in unison, because it wasn't just a bunch of people excited. It was the crowd in unison chanting, "Holy shit," over and over for about 30 seconds.
Yeah. And that was honestly what all of us said to the person sitting next to us.
Right.
When she
that was everybody's reaction. And then we all decided to have the reaction together at the same time.
That's such a New York reaction as well. Like, I've seen clips from San Diego Comic-Con where they make a big announcement, and it's just like 10 minutes straight of applause,
right.
And no one can get a word in edgewise. We decided it was time to like shut up and
let's organize.
You know what? We all know how we want to react to this.
I'm coughing again.
Let's do it.
Should we tell that story about Coughing Guy?
You know what? Maybe not, because I feel like maybe he's a fan.
Oh, I hope he is. Hey, Guy, if you're watching this, I say hi.
There's a reference that one person will get.
The short version of the story is that the guy sitting in front of us at both the Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. and the Iron Fist panel, I coughed into my hand, looking away from him a few times, and he disagreed, thought I was coughing on him, thought I was doing it intentionally, and he wasn't too happy with me.
Yes.
That's the short version of the story. There's a slightly longer one.
I just hey, should we tell the story? No. Okay, so here's the story.
Well, I just figured since we brought it up, now it just makes no sense unless we briefly address it.
It still doesn't make much sense, and I was there.
It doesn't make any sense, and even if I told the full, long version of the story, it still feels like I'm leaving things out. Because
I've told somebody the story since then, and it took me too long to say it, and then it wasn't even a good story at the end.
No, because it's just a guy getting angry at something.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think having Sigourney as the villain, to get back on track a little bit, is such an amazing choice, because she can play anything.
She can. She really can.
I mean, she, as far as I'm concerned, is what John McClane was in Die Hard. She played that in space as Ripley.
Yeah.
She's associated with so much of my favorite nerdery over the years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That I have so much faith in her ability to do this.
And the fact that they got her, I mean, I think she's the biggest star that they've gotten in... I mean, David Tennant's big, but he might be more popular, but I think Sigourney Weaver has the higher pedigree.
Yeah, more star...
Yeah, for sure.
Star factor, or whatever you want to call that.
So to get her for a Netflix show is really, really amazing, and I'm so excited for that.
Yeah. And
with that announcement, the panel ended, and that was really... There was another day of Comic-Con, but nothing too big happened there. So that's kind of it for Comic-Con news. But very, very exciting.
Yeah.
And we walked away, and both of us were just, like, completely stunned at how excited we were. I mean, let's talk about 2017, by the way.
2017 is shaping up to be an incredible year.
Because 2017
and that's probably going to be the best place to end this, because we can't top 2017.
Right. And 2017 is not just the first year we're getting 3 Netflix shows. So this is the first year we're getting 3 movies in the MCU. So we have the back half of Season 4 of Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D.
Yes.
We have Iron Fist.
Well, we have the back half of what's shaping up to be an incredible season of Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D.
Right. We have Iron Fist. We have the Defenders.
Yep.
We have Punisher. We have Cloak and Dagger on Freeform, which a lot of people have forgotten about.
I forgot about it myself.
Yes. We might have Runaways in late 2017. Probably 2018, but it might be there.
Maybe it'll start in 2017.
Hopefully we'll have Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. getting renewed for Season 5.
Yeah.
Not a sure thing, but seems like a strong possibility.
I think the network realizes it's a good investment.
Right. And so that's just the TV side of the MCU.
Right.
Then we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
I'm so excited.
Right. And Thor Ragnarok. What a year 2017 is going to be.
Yeah, and can you believe Sigourney Weaver's playing Vulture in that?
And yes, I cannot believe that.
Yeah, it's going to be a ridiculous year. It's going to be interesting to see how they move on from there, though, because how do you compete with such a stacked year?
Well, 2018, of course, you have Infinity War. But
I mean, just in terms of volume, people are going to get used to a lot more content than they're going to get out of 2018.
I think 3 Netflix shows a year is going to be how we do it from now on.
Really?
I do. I think... well, I don't know, because one of them is Defenders, and that's kind of a special case, because it's also shorter. It's 8 episodes instead of 13. But we have Daredevil Season 3 and Jessica Jones Season 2 already announced.
That's true.
Luke Cage will probably be getting a Season 2.
Yeah.
Iron Fist probably be getting a Season 2. Punisher probably be getting a Season 2. Not all of those will come out in 2018, but I could see one of them coming out in 2018.
Yeah, that's all it takes. It's a good time to be a nerd.
And that's assuming they don't add any other shows, which seems like not a very safe assumption considering they've already added Punisher.
Yeah. Yeah, they just have to add the Sigourney Weaver spin-off show. Whatever that's going to be.
I'd watch it.
Just Sigourney Weaver just talking.
Yeah, I would absolutely watch that.
Her reading comics to you?
Yes, absolutely.
I would actually watch that. That and James Bond in a coma.
Her reading comics to James Bond in a coma.
And that brings him to life in episode 12.
Yep.
Are you listening, Hollywood? We got your back.
We should just run every movie studio.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think we'd be really good at it.
Someday we'll share our version of Man of Steel that is actually good.
Our version of Man of Steel is actually good, though,
Right.
unlike these movies, which are not good.
Oh, okay. I was being serious. But I think that's going to just about do it for us.
Yes, we were going to talk about the IMAX preview for Doctor Strange.
But maybe we'll just save it for next time?
We can save it for next time, but if you cannot wait to hear what I thought of it and my recap of it, I did write up a quick thing for MCUExchange.com. I'll link that in the description where I just go through the footage and describe what I saw and what I thought of it. But short version, it's amazing and trippy and weird. See it in 3D.
So yeah, that's going to do it for us.
But yeah, that's going to do it. So thank you so much for watching this very long episode of MCUEx. Make sure you're following us on Twitter and Facebook. We're at the MCUExchange on Twitter and just at MCUExchange on Facebook. Also, check out MCUExchange.com every single day for updates and news and features and opinions about the MCU. With that being said, I'm Doug Herring.
I'm Nick Fox.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
God damn it.